I'm Lester Holt.
Howdy, Holtheads. Kurt Money here, alongside my co-host,
Kaitlyn.
And we are here to discuss a kind of new Dateline. We got an updated episode for you here on the death of Mary Yoder called Poison Twist. I like it because Deadly's not in the title. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's one reason to be pro this title. It's still pretty standard fare. It's pretty
lazy.
It's pretty much what the thing is. It's like Poison Twist. Okay.
Yeah.
Poison Twist.
Before I get your thoughts, Kate, here is the IMDb. The unexplained death of a beloved chiropractor becomes a criminal investigation when the authorities discover that she had been poisoned. Nearly a decade after the murder, a court makes a decision about the young woman at the heart of the case. Hosted by AC. What'd you think of this ep?
This is a good one. We finally have a really good one this season.
Yeah. And no spoilers, do you know where you stand on the ending? Like, are you 100% one way or another? What's the vibe for you?
I'm not, actually.
Me neither. I've got a lot of torn thoughts.
Yeah.
I'll say this. When I first watched this update, I knew this case because of something specific in this that I relate to so much. And it's something that, Kate, I better make your list. We'll save that. But there's something in here that is very K-Mon. But then I watched the app and I felt one way. And then I watched a 3-part doc on Hulu that came out a few months ago. Did you know about this doc called Little Miss Innocent?
No, but I'm going to watch it right after this.
Yeah, I know. I debated telling you. I thought it would be better for the show if you hadn't seen it.
I agree. I'm glad you told me this was an update because AC's hair, completely different from the last time we saw her. And I thought at first, oh, she didn't like those lowlights.
Yeah. You know what? Boy, it really speaks, because they didn't say, of course, and it's hard to find on the internet. I can't find the direct date, but I think it was 2017 when that original Dateline episode aired. And AC, kind of hard to tell. I mean, if you put them side by side, you can, but I just say, she's looking good in both. I prefer the longer hair in that look, but do you know what I mean? It didn't feel like it was 7 years ago.
No, not at all. I think she's timeless.
Timeless. That's a great way to look at it. All right, now our story begins in New York. Do you know where exactly?
It's outside of Rochester?
They say, is it Oneida County?
Oneida.
It was early afternoon on a Tuesday in central New York's scenic Mohawk Valley.
They didn't say this in the Dateline, but I found it's in Sequoit, New York. Crazy word.
Sounds like a Native American name.
It was cool, and the sign for the town said, the Hamlet of Sequoit. The hell does that mean?
Well, Hamlet just means village, tiny little enclave.
What?
It's quaint.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Boy, it's weird how much Shakespeare's coming up, but are you telling me that the show called Hamlet, that's not referring to a dude named Hamlet?
Well, they're different.
Okay, the same word though, yeah?
Yeah, but it means different things.
So there is a guy named Hamlet that Shakespeare wrote about.
Kurt?
Our story begins in New York in 2015. Mary Yoder, a chiropractor, she leaves work feeling sick and everybody knows it. She calls and leaves a voicemail for her husband. I feel sick as hell. I'm coming home to lay down.
Hi, honey. It's me. I'm driving home. I'm very sick. I love you. Bye.
And once her sisters hear about this, they call in to see how old Sister Mary's doing. She's in the hospital. She's sicker than before, and she is on her deathbed. Mm-hmm. So now all members of the family are rushing to the hospital. What are you thinking right now, Kate?
Obviously, I'm thinking, well, her husband probably poisoned her because the title is Poison Twist, and husbands always be the ones killing their wives.
Yeah, classic.
But then I thought, well, wait a minute, Kate, this is a poison twist, so it's not going to be the husband.
Again, I love that you're always like, I got to stay one step ahead. Like, you're like, Dateline, you're not going to get me.
And I don't know why I do that. What does it matter? Who gives a shit? Why am I like, I got to figure this out first second in?
I like it.
But you know what?
What's that?
I haven't told you this yet, but Jillionaire spoiled this for me.
The update? Or all of it?
Well, I don't remember the original. I didn't know this story.
Okay.
And she straight up spoiled it. Now,
God, Jillionaire.
She did and she didn't, because at the end, she said who was convicted. But since I don't 100% know how I feel about that conviction, did she spoil it? And my mom, she has no kind of, I'm about to get real mean here.
Okay.
If Dateline tells her it's one thing, that is what it is. She can't explore anything for herself.
Jillionaire roasted. All right, so the whole family shows up to the hospital. Family keeps vigil in the waiting room. Bummer, though, because Mary Yoder does not make it. She is 60 years old, and she is dead. Now is when we get, like, the background on the fam and stuff. And I was shocked. There were hella doctors and nurses and stuff. Didn't it feel like 50% of the Yoder clan was involved in nursing or healthcare or something?
It did, at least the ones they interviewed. One of the daughters was a doctor, so family members were calling her, asking, what does this mean? What does that mean? And there were a few other nurses peripherally. What was crazy was that Mary was really, really healthy.
Yeah.
So they were suspicious immediately, because you don't just get sick in one day and die.
Okay, I agree with you there, because she fell down with hella symptoms, right? Mm-hmm. She was like okay in the morning, and by the end she had rashes, she was sick. People do just randomly die, though, hell of a lot younger, right? Like people who die in their sleep, and they're like, what happened?
But eventually the autopsy shows they had like a
thing?
Undiagnosed heart thing or something that causes it. You can't just be healthy and die.
And I said, Janine's 60-year-old healthy people don't just drop dead.
Now, the doctors... Wait. Before we get to the doctors and stuff, what do you think of these sisters and their background? Because, look, we got a lot of classic stuff we love/hate, like people singing on mic from a phone recording. Has already been said. A special dance they choreographed.
Belly dancing. We costumed and choreographed a dance for a local havla.
Okay. How to say this? I was laughing my little ass off when they were talking about the choreographed dance that they did, the sisters. And the one sister is going like, it's called a so-and-so. And she goes, it's Egyptian.
Which it's Egyptian dance, yeah.
And the way that she nodded and said, like, was telling the story to AC, she wanted like, ooh.
And AC was like, oh, yeah?
Yeah, okay, let's move on.
Like, did not care.
Because it's a little appropriation style. Like, I feel like nowadays... you don't do it like that, and you don't be that excited, like, look at what we're doing. Mm-hmm. But the way she delivered Egyptian and expected, like, a standing O from AC. I mean, let's say this. Mary Yoder seemed pretty cool, right?
She did.
She and her husband, Bill, owned a chiropractor family care place, and everybody liked Mary more. Bill was kind of a dud. Am I right?
The patients preferred to see Mary. She was friendly and upbeat and really good at her job, and Bill was like crotchety and standoffish, and it's weird to be an introvert if you work in a field that requires you to be connecting with people all day long and touching them.
That's a great point. It kind of reminds me, like, there's a lawyer that we talked to that I want to go like, dude, you shouldn't be a lawyer.
Do you think that your daughter, your 23-year-old, could give an accurate statement under those conditions? I think not.
And I feel like it could happen with doctors where personality-wise, this is not going to be great for them, but they're little smarty pants and they like went to school to be a doctor or a lawyer, so that they're going to do it. But they kind of fail on the part you don't get tested on in school, I think.
So like...
and you just kind of roll with it.
Like Dr. House.
Kate, wait! Don't you dare be talking about Dr. House yet. But that's a great little tease. That's a great little... You know I'm dying to talk about it, right? I mean, you know it. Look at you. Oh, almost set me off on House. Okay, anyway. So the doctor's first answer is they go, it looks like it was colitis. And everybody's like, that sounds weird. Again, a bunch of medical people in the fam, like, they're going, that doesn't sound right to me.
Mary's sister Sharon, the nurse, questioned the explanation.
And then one doctor pulls aside Sharon and says, look, I gotta tell you, this wasn't colitis. We don't know what it was. So this is pretty cool that the doctor's like, hey, I know that we're like supposed to pretend like we got all the answers, but real talk, we don't know what the hell did this. Mm-hmm. And so that sister goes to the medical examiner and says, hey, can you do some more toxicology tests? And they agreed. I mean, this is pretty cool because if the doctor hadn't said that and Nurse Sharon had left it where it is, we would not be here talking about this case.
Yeah, they could have cremated her.
Yeah. They do more toxicology tests, and that the doctors are like, we got to get another opinion. So they send it to like a poison control place, and we talk to the lady who does the tests, right? What was the place where she worked at?
The medical examiner sought the opinion of Dr. Gina Marafa at the Upstate New York Poison Center.
And it's when we talk to this lady that they discover that she actually died by ingesting colchicine, a common ingredient of gout medication. Mm-hmm. Now, what are you thinking right now, Kate?
Well, Mary didn't have gout, so I'm thinking, how and when was she poisoned with this? Because on that last day... Dateline, the last day.
The last day.
She was fine in the morning,
Yep.
And then after lunch, she started feeling sick.
Right.
So I was thinking, did someone put something in her lunch? But how could you put gout medication in a salad?
Yeah, that's a good call. And enough of the gout medication to kill him, because like the amount that's in the gout meds is very minimal.
You need a lot.
Like at some point, somebody says you got to ingest like 40 to 60 pills to die like this. And the family's stumped, but the docs kind of leave it at that. And this was another, Mary's daughter was like, short-term acute treatment for gout? That's what colchicine's for.
I mean, the only capacity that I knew that was as a short-term acute treatment for gout.
I just loved how knowledgeable they were, okay? I loved it, and it was cool. And it was so sad that daughter was crying an awful lot. I don't think she was ever not crying. Would you agree with me, Kate?
I would be too, Kurt.
Yeah, fair. All right, so Nurse Sharon, she says, this ain't good enough for me. We're getting the cops involved.
Sharon decided to contact the police.
So now the cops are in going, it's foul play. Where's it at? And this is the dope part where AC's like, what? I've never even heard of that. And then it kicks in with, a lot of other TV shows have used it. And I'm sitting there going, oh, which one's it going to be? I bet I've seen it. And they show the most dog shit clip of an episode of House.
It's so low res. It must be from like season 1.
It is from season 1, but do not think for 1 second it's from that show. It's because they ripped that shit off YouTube, okay?
Oh, come on.
Yes, there is the TV show House, which had colchicine.
Colchicine does its damage in a very specific order.
But this is real life now.
Holtheads, you'll see that what I present to you in the video version is HD. It exists in HD. I watched the episode last night. It's Occam's Razor, season 1, episode 3. And actually, pause, Kate, check this out. 1, I got my tricky ways of recording stuff from Netflix. I did that and it looks great. However, House, the official series on Blu-ray. And notice 18. This is the Region 2 release, because this was out before the Region A was. So, pretty good, pretty sweet.
Does it play?
Yeah, I have a special Blu-ray for it. I have a all regions Blu-ray player, of course. Kate,
I bet you do. I bet you do.
So I watched did you f*** with House back in the day?
Yes, a little bit.
Do you remember this episode?
Maybe.
Yeah, I watched it last night, and it was good. It was fun. I like House. I never finished it. I think I bailed in season 6 or something. But the episode was not about a poisoning. It was about a mistake at the pharmacy. And this kid got it while he was having sex. And the sex scene was pretty racy. They were showing like headboards knocking and people going, ooh, ooh. It was pretty, this was on Fox back in the day. I don't know. This was broadcast television sex scene.
Was it 10 p.m.?
And it was a little like, woo, maybe. The ep rolls. It's pretty good. It's not a poisoning. And in a shocking turn of events, it turns out by the end of the episode, we found out that House was right all along.
You're kidding.
Ergo me right, you wrong.
It was good stuff. I'm kicking around a House rewatch. Kicking it around. Okay, so first things first, they got to look at the husband, Bill. Do you remember what he said so they've been married like 38 years, right? And they've had their ups and downs. Mary kind of plays it close to the chest, but there's one story that the sisters tell.
The day before the wedding, Bill all of a sudden says to Mary, if we're going to do this, it's going to be like an open marriage, right? And Mary's like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
Bill. And if that's how you're feeling, then we're not doing this. And he takes some time, goes away for a couple minutes, thinks about it, comes back and says, okay, I think we should get married. I'm going to commit. It's not an open relationship.
Great.
Okay, Bill.
Thanks,
great.
Bill.
What a romantic gesture.
Yeah. That's my wedding present to you, okay, Mary? I won't sleep around.
And did that imply that he had been their whole time they were dating and engaged?
That's a great cue. Maybe he follows Ari Gold rules where it doesn't count if it's pre-marriage.
Couple points against Bill there. Off to a bad start.
That's for sure. And then they look more into him, and Bill would disappear for weekends at a time to write. Now, he is also a chiropractor. I assume they got to write, like, medical journal articles and stuff. Are you suspicious, though, Bill's going away for weekends all the time to write?
Of course I'm suspicious. You don't need to go away to write. You can just go into the next room and write.
Yeah.
And also, if he's like working on the great American novel, that's even more pathetic.
Well, somebody's gotta. If he was writing something that was hella long, like a screenplay or a novel, and he was a published author, I'd say do what you gotta do.
He's not.
He's not, though. Like, he's probably writing, when I say, I'm not dissing writing articles, but they're just, the word count's a lot less than a novel, is what I'm saying. And I don't think you need weekend getaways to wrap them up.
No.
So, Bill, more points. Out of there. And after Mary had died, Bill wasn't distraught, which doesn't mean anything. But he did have her cremated very quickly, turned her phone off quickly, even before they knew the death reason. Like, this stuff was happening before colchicine had entered the picture, I believe.
Right.
So how's that make you feel, Kate?
I know there's a difference between losing a spouse and losing a pet, but when I lost a pet recently, I think I turned everything off and shut down accounts and deactivated the microchip and everything the very next day.
Really?
Yeah, because it's sometimes, I think, a part of the mourning process. And also, it can be a temporary distraction from everything else. Just by doing something that's kind of like boring and dumb.
Yeah. And get out, because you're going to have to do it eventually.
Get it out of the way.
And like maybe you've already gotten an email that says like, schedule so-and-so's next appointment or whatever. So
you don't want to see those emails coming. You want to get ahead of it.
You don't. You know, you're absolutely right.
And then when I did cancel everything, I started getting condolence stuff in the mail from all these different companies. And that's nice when you're going through a heartache like this. It's nice to get a card and flowers and stuff that you wouldn't get if you had put it off.
Right.
I don't know. But I guess shutting down someone's cell phone is, you're not going to get a condolence letter from ATTN. But to me, that's not too big of a red flag, because I think I'd do the same thing.
Okay. You swayed me on that. I absolutely agree. So I'm not mad at him for that.
But we're mad at him for plenty of other things.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so now is when we meet the detective. I think AC called him a fair-minded detective, Detective Nelson.
Any fair-minded detective would need that evidence too.
I got news for you, Kaitlyn. He was in this other doc. This guy's a turd. Okay, he's not quite dingus status.
Okay, turd status.
But he could take a hike. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
What'd you think of him in this Dateline? He wasn't too bad.
No, he seemed fine.
Yeah. Boy, you made me mad at that other doc.
This is a girl thought she was smarter than everybody else.
It's not me.
Who is it? Do you have an alter ego here I need to know about, or what? Because you're saying it's not you, then who else is it? Who else is involved?
Okay. So Nelson is telling the daughters, do not talk to your dad about the case. And this is the two daughters that were crying nonstop. This is one more step of feeling terrible. It's like their mom was murdered, and they're not allowed to talk to their dad because he might have done it. And they seem, talk about fair-minded, these sisters, I think, have good heads on their shoulders a little bit, because they were open to the idea that the dad did it.
They were not, you know how sometimes people put blinders up when it comes to family? And
yeah. Oh, yeah, we see it all the time.
They haven't sat down. They haven't gone to jail, sat behind that glass, picked up that phone, and talked to the same man.
And these girls are like, okay, well, that's a possibility. We want to follow every lead. And just because it's our dad doesn't mean it couldn't be possible. So I liked that they were level-headed about it, and they were on board with all steps of the investigation.
Yeah.
Did you think it was possible?
We didn't know if our father was involved. We didn't know if it was a complete stranger.
So while they're keeping an eye on him, the cops are really keeping an eye on him. They've got him they're following him around and stuff. They got eyes on him. What's that called when you're surveillance? They were surveilling him, right?
Yeah.
Because this is when they find out that why does he keep going away for weekends at a time? And it's not to finish the novel. Even the family's suspicious, including the 92-year-old grandma.
Grandma is like, oh, he's getting his D-dub up there. Wherever he's going, he is having an affair or doing something. She knew.
This is coming from a 92-year-old woman, 91-year-old
And she goes, I'm
woman.
not feeling right about this.
It's at this point where the cops finally bring Bill in to talk to him. And they confirm that, yes, Bill had a girlfriend. Now, the cops do not divulge who that girlfriend is yet. But it's true, at this point, Bill has a new girlfriend.
But he argues that he did not have this girlfriend while Mary was still alive, and that he got into this relationship 6 months after she died.
Yeah, here's an extra tidbit I can give you from the other doc. Is the cops investigate this other relationship, and from what they can tell from all forensics, like digital and everything, it started afterwards. And the example that the guy gives on the Hulu doc is he was texting her asking for directions to her house one time they hooked up after the murder.
Right.
Which I think is quasi-strong. I'm putting some
I think
heat behind that.
AC mentioned that they looked at his phone and that it backed up his story. There was no correspondence in a sexual nature before Mary died.
Right. Now, that'll come into question at the trial, so put a pin in that and think about that later. Okay, so now the cops are at a standstill. They're like, they have for the time being cleared Bill. They're like, Bill's not our guy. What are our other options? And they look to Mary Yoder's son, Adam. They're thinking of looking at this guy because he's next on the list. But also, they get something in the mail. It turns things around.
They get an anonymous letter that says...
Typed
letter that says that Adam did it. and confessed to this person who wrote the letter, and that they would find evidence in his car underneath the passenger seat. And the person who wrote this letter also said something weird like, you better go and find it before he figures out what he's going to do with it. And immediately I'm like, okay, well, obviously the person who wrote this letter is the one who did the poisoning and planted the evidence under the seat, because nobody would be that stupid to have evidence and keep it knowing that they are going to get looked at because they're the son of the victim.
Yeah, now that's one theory.
You thought that possibly the killer wrote the letter.
Yes. But before they bring Adam in, they do a little background on Adam. And what's the scoop with him?
Well, Adam, I think, is a little bit like his dad in that he is quiet and not really a people person. And this is where we meet his girlfriend's family.
Yeah.
And he spent a lot of time.
His girlfriend, Katie.
He spent a lot of time with Katie and at her house, at her parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
And they described Adam as being kind of shifty, not making eye contact, hard to talk to. They didn't like him.
No.
And they told her this.
And us this.
Something's not right with this guy.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that doesn't mean he's a murderer, but it means he's off-putting.
Yeah. What'd you think of Katie's dad?
I liked Katie's dad. I liked her parents a lot.
He wouldn't make eye contact with you, and he wouldn't really talk.
The communication
to anyone
stopped
in the
a little
family.
bit between myself and him.
I was thinking, dude, if I had dinner with you and I was sitting at the other end of that table, we'd have chatted. I crush those kind of things, Kaitlyn. Okay?
I've seen you crush those kind of things.
Right on. Confirmation.
When you came to Christmas dinner with my family.
Yup. Straight up.
You crushed it.
All right. I love that.
Good, honey.
We also meet Katie's sisters. Now, this isn't quite a B-roll you busted, but it's a B-roll I'm about to roast your ass. Because how do they introduce the sisters? Do you remember? They're at a bench in the backyard with their chickens behind them. And they're all like doing each other's nails and stuff. Like one was doing them over here and the other twin was doing there. Wasn't that kind of funny? It was like, do something sisterly.
Nails in a park.
Yeah. Katie and Adam dated on and off for a few years. They had a volatile relationship. And also, Adam, one, drank too much a lot. And also was not very nice to his mom.
So I guess they felt like it wasn't out of the realm of possibility that Adam could have done it. And like his sisters even said, they didn't want to believe that, but
they could see it.
They could see it. And Adam didn't have the kind of relationship with Mary that they had.
Yeah. So the cops are finally like, all right, we got the background on Adam. He seems a little shifty. We already know he's volatile.
But he had an alibi. The sisters believed he could have done it, but they were like, he wasn't anywhere near there that whole day.
Adam was more than 300 miles away visiting his sister on Long Island.
So they thought, like, I don't know how it would be possible, but...
Because according to the toxicology reports that we have right now, she was poisoned around noon. So it's looking like it happened at lunch on that day.
At work.
So if he's 300 miles away, he's not coming back and forth. So that's good to know. And so now the cops are ready to bring him in, and they're hoping that he comes down to the station in a certain ride. Because in the letter, not only does it say she was killed via colchicine, okay? She was killed, and you're going to find that bottle that did the killing in his car. Now, Car Kate, if you don't zoom your ass in here and include this Jeep Wrangler, I'm going to be steamed.
It's included, Kurt.
Yeah. And the letter, I paused it, they detailed that it was a 91 Wrangler. So my personal J-Dub RIP was a 94. So it was a little newer than this, but I knew the hell out of this Wrangler.
This one...
Was that cool?
This was in pretty rough shape, this Wrangler.
Yes. It didn't have the back wheel and stuff. Now, real talk here, okay? Well, let's get him to the place and then open the door. So the cops bring him down to talk to him, and while that's happening, they're talking to Adam's sisters going, please, let your brother give us permission to search his car. If he shows up in a Wrangler, which he does show up in his Wrangler, talk him into letting us look into it. And in the interrogation, they're talking to Adam, they're like, we got a letter in the mail, we're just going to read you some snippets. Pretty much it says that you did the murder and that the murder weapon's out in your car right now. And what's his reaction?
So I fully believed his reaction.
Yep.
He was like, what? How is that possible? And he would never let them search the car if he thought that would even be true. So he's thinking like, that's not true. None of this is true. No.
What was his demeanor over that letter?
Shocked.
Did you feel his reaction was genuine?
Yes.
I buy it.
Yeah, because if he did it, he would have gotten it out at least when he responded to the call to come down to the station.
Yep.
And now this is when I got to hop in and say, yeah, his Jeep has seen better days.
There is garbage and everything all over in there. I mean, it's just piled with stuff in there.
But that picture of that open door on that passenger side, that is exactly what the inside of the J-Dub looked like. I mean, look, us Wrangler drivers, us J-Dub owners out there, we live by a different code.
You like to sit in filth.
No,
you like to sit in your own trash.
Incorrect. Here's the deal. When your car has drainage holes in it because it rains inside your vehicle, you're allowed to have crazy shit down there, dog. These are the rules. What do you think about that, car Kate?
I disagree. My cars are pristine. I don't care if they're inside-outside cars. So then you're just going to have trash in there, and is the trash going to fall out the drainage holes?
No.
How big are these holes?
They're like this big.
Does that mean you just like
couple quarters
dump your soda onto the floor and let it drain out? What are we doing?
No, it just makes it more of a utility vehicle where it's like, hey, we're doing business here. So if it gets a little messy, it's okay. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
It's okay. I'll clean it. I did clean it because people would have to get in. They'd have to put their feet somewhere. Turns out you can't put it on trash.
You're talking to someone who has a little trash can in their car.
Yeah, that's a dad money move. You got one too, huh?
I do. And Holtheads.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
What's up?
Kaitlyn has a new car as of this week.
Ooh. What are the deets?
I am no longer driving a Tesla. I do not align with the values of the Nazi Party.
Right.
You heard it here first.
Okay. Now, tell us the brand new car and the license plate number, Kate, please. Go ahead. What color is it? What's the make and model?
Well, I only have temp tags on it, Kurt. I will not be giving any further details.
Okay. All right. Dang it. But that's dope. And I've seen it pick Holtheads. It's sick. And so the cops go out there, they pull up the door. It's a mess. But what do they find underneath the passenger seat but a bottle of colchicine wrapped in cardboard with a receipt for the purchase of the colchicine? And what's the info on the receipt?
This is an invoice that says who purchased it, Adam, and the address it should be sent to, which is that of the chiropractor office of his parents, and his email address as the person who ordered it.
Yeah. Now, the email address on there is Mr. Adam Yoder 1990 @gmail.com. That was not his email. That is his name, though. So for all we know, it could be his email, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're thinking right now.
Well, when I saw that invoice, I immediately knew that it was photoshopped. It was a made-up invoice, because that is not really what invoices look like.
What?
And the fact that it had that very fake-sounding email address, I was like, this isn't real. This is not a real invoice. That's what I was thinking when I saw it.
Okay. I mean, but that's the email address that was used to purchase it. So I feel like that was a real invoice.
Right. Maybe. But I'm telling you, you asked, what am I thinking? I'm thinking that's a fake invoice.
Straight up.
In the Jeep, along with the colchicine, there was a receipt for the drug.
Okay, and now this, coupled with the fact that Adam was 300 miles away, the cops are like, this feels too good to be true. Like, he has an alibi that's pretty tight. Why would someone be so dumb to pull up with this bottle?
Mm-hmm.
And,
do you know what my favorite part of that email was? Or that letter?
What?
That the person who wrote it said they got the colchicine off online.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
Instead of they purchased it from the internet.
Yeah, or just online.
Online. Off online.
Writing, he got a bottle of colchicine off online and put the toxin in one of her vitamins.
Or I love when people just say, I got it offline, which implies, no, that means then you got it in person.
Yeah.
You got it offline, but they mean it like when you combine off online to offline.
Yeah.
That to me, I thought had to be a clue, but I wasn't sure why. Because in my head, I thought, okay, who would be that dumb to put off online? Is that something like a boomer would say?
Bill. Yeah.
Because I think I've heard my mom say that.
Oh, Jillionaire.
But I don't know. Then I thought maybe I'm reading too much into that. But off online made me pause.
Bells are going. You're like, okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Somebody stupid. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The cops are like, it doesn't look like Bill, it doesn't look like Adam, but they're still inspecting both of them. And this is when we meet David, Adam's cousin. And David at the time was like, no, Adam couldn't do it.
At the time I said, no, I don't think he would.
At the time.
At the time.
But he did have some interesting things to say in that Well, after the murder, Adam had changed. Like he dropped all his classes. He's drinking every day. He's always drunk. Now, and also his family members agreed that something happened. Now, it could just be that his mom died.
It could be that he is grieving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if my mom died and was murdered and I was being looked at as a suspect and there was evidence planted in my car, yeah, I'd probably drop a few classes. I don't know that I would be going to college.
Yeah. What did you think of Adam otherwise? Like, what's your overall? Oh, wait, you already said, didn't you? Reminds you of Bill.
I thought he was a weird kid, but I was like, this guy did not do it.
Okay. I'm not sure I agree with that, but... okay. The cops bring Katie in, Adam's sometimes girlfriend, to get the scoop on both of them. And also to hear about Bill and Mary's relationship, because just like Adam, Katie works at this family care place. Like, she's a receptionist at the place and works with both of them significantly. And this is a great part when AC was like, and it's the employees who usually know the scoop.
Often employees are the ones who hear and see a lot.
Yes. Remember that part? She was excited to say that.
She was. I wonder if AC knows that people at Dateline be talking about her behind her back. Because the on-air talent is separate from the production crew, and the production crew is talking mad shit.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like she's drawing from her past gigs for that.
Sure.
Because I feel like she's been in the part that's getting the talked about. She's been, on camera talent. I mean, yeah. She's been being roasted behind her back forever. And that's no diss to AC. That's anybody on camera.
No, that's any on-air talent.
Anyone.
The people behind the camera are talking mad shit on the daily.
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. I've been there, and I was talking that shit. So Katie comes down to talk to the cops, and this was wild. Would you like to... Where does the questioning turn pretty quickly? I mean, what's Katie's vibe, and what do the cops ask her?
Well, at what point were they sure that she wrote the letter?
It's literally this first meeting with her where they ask her, they decided to just throw it out there. Hey, did you write this letter? Pinning it on Adam?
And she says she did.
He took a shot and said, "Did you write the letter?"
And what did she say?
She said yes.
Which is weird.
It's weird. And over the course of this interview, which turns into an interrogation, she basically admits that she did it without saying that she did it. She started crying at one point and said, "I didn't mean to do it." And then is like, "But I'm going to go to jail." And they're like...
She didn't say I didn't mean to do it.
She did, but it wasn't clear what that meant.
I didn't mean to lie to you.
But you did.
It wasn't clear if she meant, I didn't mean to kill her, I didn't mean to do something else. It was very strange. She was being forthcoming, but also not, and crying, and I didn't know what to make of this.
My life is over.
What drove you to do this, Katie?
I go to jail. I'll go to jail forever.
Well, me neither. Now, when they said that when she admitted to writing the letter, you're going, bingo, she did it, right? That's where your head was at? Because you were thinking whoever wrote it, done did it.
I was, but then at the same time, I was like, there's no motive.
Yes.
Because she also talked about how much she loved Mary, and Mary was like a mother to her.
Yeah.
And she had gotten to know both Mary and Bill, obviously, because she had been dating Adam on and off for years.
Yeah.
She was like part of the family. And other coworkers noted that there was no weirdness between them at work. They never fought. They never got into anything. For a second, I thought, could it be that Katie is actually having the affair with Bill?
Ugh.
But then I was like, no, it doesn't seem like it's going in that kind of a poison twist.
Right.
Poison.
It was just very strange to me. I thought, I don't understand what's in it for her to kill Mary.
Yeah, that's been my hardest sticking point through everything I've ever watched on this friggin' story is why the hell would she do it?
Exactly.
Why the hell? And for the well, we'll save it, but it's important to mention that in this talk, she's doing a lot of stuff like, my life is over, I'm scared, I can't. They're like, well, if Adam did it, why can't you just tell us? And she's like, I'm scared. And then they say something that they play like is like the biggest gotcha smoking gun. And I'm here to say, bullshit. It's not. Do you know what I'm talking about?
What is it?
She says to one of the duds interviewing her, guys don't use poison. It's more of a lady's weapon. And the detectives and everybody on the show reacts like, oh ho ho, slip up of the century.
Guys also don't use poison. They say it's a lady's weapon.
They say it's a lady's weapon?
Yeah.
Bullshit.
No.
And I didn't poison anybody.
Sure.
Kate, did you know that?
Yeah, of course. The wife always puts the antifreeze in the husband's coffee. That is like murder 101.
Yeah.
Women use poison.
Yeah.
Women have been using poison since the Salem witch trials.
Yeah, and they act like that's her admitting, and I hated them for it, and it really blinded me to my opinion of this case for a long time, I thought, because I was just so furious of like, no, that is just common knowledge. That's like if she said, well, usually the husband did it. That's the equivalent of them going, oh, really? You know that? You know something that happens 98% of the time? Oh!
You know, the statement about poison is a lady's weapon. You can't help but be like, the person that I sit across from me is the murderer of Mary Yoder.
So they let Katie go, and in the meantime, they take her phone from her. Now, remember this for later for sure. She gives it up willingly, okay? And we kind of see it. But again, I didn't like the way the cops were talking to her in here. They're saying, give me your phone. All this, and sitting real close and talking too close to her. All my things are going off.
Kurt, I don't know that I've said it on the pod specifically, but when the detectives pull that chair closer and lean in and then like touch the person's knees or something.
Yes.
And say like, just tell us. Let me help you. I can help you, but I can if you don't tell me. If I were in that position, I would say, back that chair up, pal.
Yes.
Why are you getting so close to me?
Yeah.
Pop a Tic Tac.
But also, I shouldn't be close enough to smell your breath, dude. Like, we do discuss this because honestly, it happens too much.
Every time.
It happens.
Almost every time.
I hate it so much. And it is up there with like denying a polygraph and getting a lawyer. It's kind of like, you can talk to me from the other side of the table and that's it. The second you scoot around here, we're going to have trouble.
And touch my knee.
Yes. Oh.
Not a question anymore of who, Katie. It's why. Please just tell me why, Katie, that we can help you.
So now they do a little digital digging. Digital records show that Katie's computer bought the colchicine from the office.
But it's not her personal computer. It is her workstation computer at the office.
Including her typewriter, which they also tied forensically.
Okay, that was not in the Dateline.
They show a picture of the ribbon. It was 1,000%.
And both Katie's work computer and work typewriter had been forensically linked to the order.
I remember being floored because I was like, woohoo, typewriters in evidence. I was pumped. They showed a picture of the ribbon. So they must have like gone back and saw that it had typed colchicine or something, right? That's cool as hell.
Yeah.
You seem suspicious. I'm telling you it was in the Dateline.
No, I believe you. I'm just thinking about how weird this case is.
Yeah, because she does have a work computer, and which Adam and Bill both have access to.
Everyone has access. It's just like a work terminal. Anyone can log on.
But when we get to the trial and hear about her computer, Adam had her laptop because it had a flower case on it.
Okay.
Since it was in a flowery laptop sleeve and it had a picture of a Victorian background, and that's just to suit Adam's character.
And it was also on her phone that she was searching words like kill scene, like basically misspelling colchicine a bunch.
Which I would have done too.
Yeah, same. Have you ever heard of colchicine?
Never.
I have, probably only from this case, but it's not as hard to say as another word, which I'm mad I even brought it up because I'm going to butcher it. Actually, I'm not going to say it. I'll probably even cut this part out so I don't sound stupid.
Succinylcholine.
So the cops bring her back, and now they're in asshole cop mode. They're sitting real close. Their legs are wide open. They're like, why'd you do it? We already know who, Katie. You're just here to tell us why. Tell us why you did it. And they start off the convo by saying, how's the chickens?
How's the chickens?
Good.
Yeah?
These assholes.
They're trying to warm her up.
And it works.
Butter her up. Make her feel like they're just there to talk. No big deal. How are the chickens?
Because her parents had driven her down there under the belief that she was there to sign a deposition and get out of there. Now, after an hour has passed, the dad's in the waiting room going, where's my daughter? He's not getting answers. This goes on for many hours. I want to say it was like 6 hours. And at one point, the dad says, oh God, I wish we could have heard it in the interrogation, but it was probably another door. But the dad is pounding on the door, screaming for his daughter.
Dad of the year.
Yeah, and okay, Katie is 22 or 23 at this point, and if she doesn't ask for a lawyer, they don't have to give her one. But if the parents out there demanding, if the dad had said she needs a lawyer, would they have had to? Or nope. I mean, they straight arm this guy and say she didn't ask for a lawyer, you can't touch her.
If she were 17, yeah, but she's 23.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
She's on her own. Her dad might as well be her Uber driver because he has no say in what's going on behind that door.
The door's locked. To get to my daughter, I beat on the door.
Wow.
And we see something happen that was a guilty clue last week. What happened? She starts dry heaving. They put that trash in front of her. What'd you think about that? That was just like our dude last week, huh?
Like getting ready to vomit?
Yeah, he said he was about ready to get sick.
I feel like if I was being accused of murder, I'd probably throw up.
Yeah, now, we'll see whether or not she did it at this point. But last week, the guy did do it. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to keep track is basically what I'm telling you, Kate. I'm going to keep a counter. If somebody fakes a throw up, did they do it or did they not? Now, this is interesting. The cops come out and say, sorry, dude, you don't get to talk to your daughter because she's getting arrested for murder.
And he said, Katie will not be going home
with you tonight.
She is responsible for Mary Yoder's death.
They're freaking out right now. And when they finally talk to her, they say, Katie, did you do it? And she's like, no, absolutely not. And now here's where the line is kind of drawn. Because, so obviously Katie's parents believe her. She didn't do it. Now Mary's daughters, they're thinking she did do it. But Mary's sisters, the ones that kicked off this investigation, what's their stance on this thing? Which side of the room are they sitting on?
They are supporting Katie. They don't, like us, understand what the motive is. They don't understand how or why she could do this. And they all knew her too. And they were like, she's so great. She's like she's like part of our family. She wouldn't do this.
Yeah. All right, so now it's time for her friggin' trial. She's being tried for second-degree murder. And Dateline is friggin' talking to Katie. She's got the ankle bracelet on. AC's talking to her. Now this, I'm going to be coming for Dateline later and coming for him pretty hard. But in this moment, I loved when they were like, and her lawyer was there to tell us that she couldn't talk about it. And they do a little behind the scenes. And you see AC start a question. Her lawyer off screen says, nah. And she just keeps moving on.
Nope.
And I just...
AC's like, oh, no, okay, so...
Yeah, but she's used to that move, and I loved... Those are the kind of peek behind the curtains I love.
Katie's lawyer wouldn't let her answer our questions about the evidence in the case.
Nope.
No? Okay.
Like, there was one episode where we heard KM go, like, are we rolling?
Are we all rolling?
Love it. I love that stuff.
We also learned that Katie is a horse girl. She and AC are hanging out while Katie comes up to the fence line, and AC makes a note of like, oh, is your ankle bracelet, are you allowed to be this far off the property? And she's like, yeah, and like pets the horse.
So you can obviously come to the fence.
I can come to the fence.
And AC's like, boy, this kind of makes your house like a prison, huh? And Katie's like, yeah, it's prison. It's kind of prison. But hey, she's got her chickens. She got her horses. She's got her nail polish. Trial starts, and the prosecutor's first move. What'd you think of the prosecutor? She was having a lot of fun with some words like, hell hath no fury.
Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Right, and vengeance and thy name is Katie.
Vengeance, thy name is Kaitlyn Conley.
What'd you think of her?
But still didn't really provide a motive that made sense.
Yeah, not at all. But they tried it with other stuff because they bring in people that were in the office that day. And it's like, so you say that it was only Mary and Katie in the office that day? Yes. Okay, so you're saying that you were a morning patient and Mary was in a good mood. But then afternoon patients, and she was feeling sick as hell and something was obviously up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, so that's what they're going, well, who else could have done it but Katie? And still I'm going, I need more. Because again, why would she do this? And then they bring on people like a sales witness to say that the person they talked to at the office had like a soft voice.
It was a female's voice. It was soft. It's soft, sweet voice.
I'm not giving this much weight either.
Well, let's talk about this a little bit. So this was a woman who worked at the place where the colchicine was sold. She spoke to someone on the phone who was buying it.
They told me that the colchicine was being investigated in a murder case. I'm like, WTF, like, what's going on here?
This whole thing makes no sense to me.
Right.
It was purchased online. Why are they talking to somebody on the phone? Secondly,
yeah,
colchicine is not something that can be purchased over the counter. You have to get it from a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Chiropractors cannot prescribe medication for gout or any medication at all. So how would this place sell colchicine to a chiropractor's office? They are not legally allowed to prescribe it.
I don't have an answer to that one. Your first question, there was a problem with the payments, and so she had called to figure out why the card wasn't working.
Maybe because they're legally not allowed to buy it.
Great point. And the cards that were used were on these prepaid cards, which we find out at the trial that Katie did in fact pay for these. Now they lied and said they had DVDs of it, but they fibbed their way into the truth because Katie admits it. She did buy those prepaid cards that bought the colchicine, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now it's really leaning towards Katie. And then a big thing that happens is the DNA comes back. Adam's DNA is not on that bottle of colchicine. Bill's DNA is not, but Katie's is all over it.
Mm-hmm.
So it ain't looking good for Katie.
Now, she could argue that when she was in Adam's car and he told her that he killed his mother and that the evidence was under the seat, Katie may have reached down and pulled it out and been like, oh my God, here it is. And Adam may have never actually touched it without gloves.
That's true. That's true. That's what Mary's sisters are imploring the cops to think about.
If by chance that other suspect is Katie, please consider the possibility that she may be being framed.
That's what these three sisters believe. But now here's a bomb, right, Kay? Is we find out that while all these three sisters that we're talking to, they think that she's innocent, there's another sister. And how's that other sister?
Well, the fourth sister, Kathy, is not interviewed by Dateline because she's too busy having sex with Bill.
Yeah.
The girlfriend that Bill moved on to right after Mary's death is Mary's sister, y'all.
And the sister that nobody talks to anymore.
I wonder why.
Clearly. Oh my God.
That is so gross. And more points taken off for Bill.
Yeah. Now, both Bill and Kathy testify that their relationship started in September, and I think the murder was in July or something.
And that's fine. That's not what everyone's concerned about. They're concerned that you're having sex with your dead sister's husband.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's not against the law.
It's not against the law, but it's very trashy.
We were grieving together, and we gravitated toward each other.
Now, all evidence seems to point to the fact that they did start dating after, but there is one person who testifies, and it's Kathy's neighbor, that says, I saw these two smooching pre-murder.
Bill was holding Kathy, and he was kissing her and looking in her eyes, and it was very intense.
I don't know if I buy this. What do you think, Kate? I don't know.
She may have gotten her timelines confused. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And she's the only one who says that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very easy mistake to make. Witnesses like this are always trouble.
Totally.
Another point that the defense brings up is that Bill had just gotten $400K from his dad's estate, so he didn't need Mary as an earner anymore. That's why their contention is Bill did it because he just wants to move on and have a new life with his new lover, who kind of looks like his dead wife.
Right.
Bill is not on Dateline, but he did tell them that he did not poison Mary and had nothing to do with her death. And now this, Kate, this is the moment, and I need answers. Because it turns out in the state of New York, if you're a witness for the grand jury, you have blanket immunity for all time. What is that about?
That is terrible because of how this ends.
But Kate, what the hell's the point of this law? What is the point?
I guess it's to persuade spouses to spill the beans if they know anything, even if they were maybe involved a little bit. They figure it's better to get all the info.
What? I don't know. I've got a real problem. I don't understand the benefits to this. I mean, what you're saying, there's already a law for that. The spouse doesn't have to testify.
That's true.
And we'll find out soon, Bill's not the only one who has this immunity. That's my biggest upset with this. Is I don't understand how you can give someone who's a potential suspect immunity across the board.
And in New York State, all grand jury witnesses are given automatic immunity from prosecution.
No matter what happens, is he protected?
For life,
For life?
forever.
In a grand jury thing, that's when they see if it should go to trial, right? That's like what happens before a jury, or before like the trial starts. Is that true? Or is this just in New York? If you testify at a trial at all, you're immune. You don't know?
I don't know. But we should know that.
No. Now the defense, their biggest move here is to deny the digital stuff. And they're saying that she searched for that after the fact. And they even say that
Which I buy.
They cannot tell.
You can't tell when the search was done all the time.
Why not? You can't? Why not? I thought you can every time. I don't know.
Can you?
I mean, it's...
We ran into this exact issue with the Karen Reed trial, where the friend was Googling how long can a body be outside in the elements before it dies.
Kate, you are 1,000% correct. Good memes on that.
And they couldn't tell when she Googled that. And this is the exact same case.
Okay, that I buy. So that's a pretty good thing there. Now, I'm going to save this for the end of the trial, but the other doc had way more with the digital dude. And it's interesting, okay? It's very interesting.
Okay.
Kaitlyn Conley's cell phone is a treasure trove of interesting artifacts for this case.
Oh, and okay. And then also, the prosecution's thing is like, Katie's kind of nutso. She's kind of a psycho ex-girlfriend. And she did this to get Adam back, which kind of happened because after the death, in fact, after the murder, Katie and Adam did hook up again, and I know specifically that they did have sex. Now, Katie's sisters are saying that Katie dumped him. Adam's side of the family is saying that Adam dumped her. So that's here or there, but it is kind of wild to think that they did. Like, so as even AC says, that's pretty diabolical.
If this is true, this is a diabolical side.
Which is a KM word.
Diabolical.
That's a Keith word right there.
Diabolical.
But, I mean, this is some evil shit. If that's what we're proposing, that Katie is that crazy of an ex-girlfriend that she did this to get the guy back, I mean, that's scary, huh?
It is. It's scary. I just don't know if I buy it.
Yeah, I know. It's really hard for me to grasp that she would be that cuckoo bananas.
There was another side of Katie that we had not known.
The first trial, the jury comes back, this thing is hung. Now, I know the details. It was 10-2, 10 for innocent. I learned that from the other thing.
Wow.
But the prosecutors determined, and 5 months later, they do it again. And now Katie's got a new defense, okay? Both an attorney and also her literal defense, because her attorney now says, forget Bill. It was Adam, ladies and gentlemen. It was Adam. Remember?
Ladies and gentlemen, it was Adam. It was Adam.
He was very annoying.
Yeah.
But I do think it would more likely be Adam than Bill, I think.
Yeah. I think so. I think so. Now is when we find out that, because now they're trying to paint Adam in a bad light, they're saying that months before, Katie had filed a complaint of rape against Adam, but Adam is saying, I blacked out and I don't remember it, so I don't have a story to offer otherwise. Now, that's all Dateline did. They did call it a rape, but it wasn't just a complaint, Kate. She went to the police and reported him, and they recorded her calling Adam and accusing him of this. And I heard the tape.
Really?
Yes.
The investigator had Katie make a control phone call to Adam.
Now you're saying I raped you?
Yes.
So this was more than just a filed a complaint, right? Because they say that right afterwards they didn't get anything from him and she dropped it. I don't know where to stand on here. I feel, what are you thinking?
That also paints a new light into what the families thought of them.
Okay.
Where it's like, Katie wouldn't have done this. She was one of ours or whatever. And it's like, no, it sounds like actually your families weren't all hunky-dory with rape allegations flying around and breakups and bad vibes.
Yeah. And now what's interesting, this is another tidbit from the other doc. 1 hour after that failed sting, 1 hour after that call, Katie is texting Adam saying it was great hearing from you. Let's get back together. How you feel about that?
And it was just insane to us. Like, you're trying to, like, make up this rape allegation, get him arrested, but you went out in the parking lot and immediately asked him to get together.
That definitely informs what I think.
That's where I'm leaning now, because I'm like, ooh, I don't want to point any fingers, and I don't like, because it's very easy to say, oh, crazy ex-girlfriend, right? Like, that's an easy label to throw out there. This might be one of the times
where it's true.
Where it might be kind of true. Yeah, might be. I mean, if we're looking at the evidence, she already tried to get him back by falsely proclaiming rape. And then that didn't work. So now she upped it a level and said, okay, bye-bye, Mrs. Yoder. Now your son did come back to me. And again, I'm going, boy, this sounds legit.
It does. That was not made clear in the Dateline.
No, it was not.
So the second trial ends a little differently.
Yeah, at first it's going to be a hung jury again. And the judge does.
And the judge is like, no, get back in there. This is crazy.
Yeah, I love it when the judge does that.
I know. It's so great. They're like, no.
Nope, nice try. And then I feel like it was only hours later, too. I feel like when the judge said that and they were like, okay, well, now that you pressed us, I guess we do have a verdict.
As for manslaughter,
guilty or not guilty? Guilty.
All right, so I guess Katie did it. Adam's off the hook. Not like it matters. This is not a spouse we're talking about. Adam also has immunity.
Right, because he testified.
Whoa!
So...
Like his father, Adam also testified before the grand jury and received full immunity from prosecution.
When Katie goes to prison, she's in there for years.
7.
And while she's there, she does the classic dive right into law books and learn everything I can about my own appeal.
Yep.
And she gets an appeal. And she gets to go before a judge for a third time.
Well, now, time out. She lost the appeal. And it's at that point she reaches out to Melissa Schwartz. And we talked to her.
Katie did file an appeal, but lost. That's when she reached out to attorney Melissa Schwartz, a specialist in post-conviction motions.
Now, Kate, how do we know this lady? Did this lady ring bells? We've seen her before, and it was a friggin' ACF, and I'm shocked they didn't mention it.
No.
Frickin' Remy for the same thing, the 440.
Oh, God.
It was the exact Same thing.
Well, that was New York.
It's very rare that 440 motions are actually granted.
So in 2022, Melissa files a 440 motion for ineffective counsel. It was denied. And then they appeal that, and that's what was chosen. And that's what was allowed to go forward. And she even says, like, only between 2 and 6% of these are allowed. Now, this was a fact they talked about in the Remy app.
We knew we were going to win.
It was so obvious.
So this is 2 grand slams, bottom of the 9th, that this lady has hit on Dateline within a year. I mean, that's crazy.
She must be pretty good at what she does.
And she agrees with Katie, like, yeah, this is weird. Their search warrant for the phone, you need 2 search warrants, one for the phone and one for the info in the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to specify date ranges and what you're looking for. And they didn't do that. And so now Melissa Schwartz is going, well, what was up with your other lawyers? And now they're on the stand. Melissa Schwartz is asking them questions. And he's like, well, I realized it, but I didn't process it, but I did see it. It's dope.
And she's like, and why was
Right.
that? Basically to get him to be like, because I'm dumb and stupid.
Because I'm not as good at this as you are.
Yeah, that's what she wanted to hear.
As in, you didn't identify it, or you don't think it's an overwhelming?
I didn't at the time. I see it as an issue. I didn't recognize it. I failed to recognize it.
She said that when they heard it was going to go through, that everybody in the office was cheering and celebrating. You remember that?
I think I screamed. I ran around my office telling everybody that we had won.
But now I'm thinking, well, you just did a few weeks earlier with Remy.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I can't get over that Dateline didn't mention it because it was an ACF.
Remy, I forgot how much energy you have.
And I'm just proud of, I mean, her resume is stacked right now. She also brought in her own toxicologist, which they did not do either. Now, the one that the prosecutors had, that's the one that said she died at noon. She died at lunchtime, y'all. But now this new toxicologist said it could have been 16 hours earlier. Now, if that's true, that does open the door.
Yes.
Does it not?
It does.
Now everybody's back on the table. Now, unfortunately, everybody on the table, only one of them can be prosecuted because of the rules.
Right.
For life, forever.
So this is in December of 2024, literally 3 months ago. The indictment against her is dismissed, and she was released in friggin' February of 2025. She's out.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you thinking right now? Because like when this lady did it for Remy, we were proud of her because she's following the law. But we knew Remy did it.
Right.
I mean,
I feel the same way this time too. I feel like Katie most likely did it. I'm still a little iffy on the motive, but now that you've told me more information from the doc, it seems clearer that she had motive and was maybe a little crazy. But I don't think she ever should have been convicted because there was no clear evidence.
Yeah.
So I think it was right for her to have this dismissed. It sucks that the other suspects can't be tried.
Yeah. Now, she can be tried again because this is just like, it's like it was a hung jury.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's up to the state if they want to try her again, but they won't be able to use the cell phone stuff.
So I don't know that they can, that they'll feel like it's worth doing.
Yeah. And look, I'll be honest. When I watched this Dateline the other night, at the end of it, I was like, good, let her be out because I'm not 100%.
Mm-hmm.
However, then I watched this Hulu thing, and I'm like, I think she friggin' did it. And I think she's cuckoo bananas, like the prosecution said. Okay? All right, I think it's list time, Kate. What do you got?
Kate's unnamed list. Well, I got a car. I got Adam's Jeep. His messy...
91 Jeep Wrangler.
Messy, trashed Jeep.
But still a J-Dub. Yep.
And that might be it. I didn't hear puzzle. I didn't hear any apologies through tears.
That happened 1,000%. I don't know if Katie kept talking, but when AC asked Katie if she did it, she does start crying and need a break and says sorry. Remember when she started hyperventilating and AC was like,
Yeah, you're okay. You're okay. Is your anxiety about just what's coming?
Oh, I don't remember her saying sorry.
She did, but she didn't talk after it. And that's part of your list, right?
I think I'm being too stingy. I'm going to give it to Katie. I'm going to say, yeah.
All right.
It's on the list.
Boom. That's 2 things. And what about this? Now, according to the Dateline, it's not a small town. But when I look into this Sequoia place, it totally is. So I don't know, when you watch the doc, maybe think about it.
Just because it's Sequoia doesn't mean that bad things can't happen in this small town.
I mean, according to the Dateline, it's not. Because all they kept talking about the county, right? But that's not where this took place. It took place in this hamlet of Sequoia.
Well, I think when I talk about a small town, the kind of town where things like this just don't happen, it's more like a we don't lock our doors kind of town.
Right.
And this case didn't really involve someone breaking into a home or
True.
anything like that. So maybe if it had, we would have heard more about the size of the town.
Yeah. You got anything else?
Nope. What do you got?
On to Kurt's Kick-Ass List.
Kick-Ass List.
The big one, the House Mansion.
There were actually a couple of TV shows that kind of echoed this case.
Yes, there is the TV show House.
This is my only thing, but damn, it's a big one. Okay. We got a clip from the show. They talk about it. They play a little sound up and everything. Woo-wee! That was on my list. That's when I was so excited for this ep when that happened, right? But that's it. So now are you ready for some deets from the doc? And I'm going to fire through these because we are, again, I've been a real blowhard here, Kate, but I felt like it was worth it.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of interesting stuff here. Okay, number one, the digital guy found a ton more stuff. And it makes the argument that they do actual digging. Because he went through and she had deleted 6,000 notes. Okay? And he went through and reread these notes that she had written in her phone. And one of them had a partial of the email of Mr. Adam Yoder, 1990 at gmail.com. And below it, it had the phrase, A is gay. Okay? And the digital forensic guy was like, that sounds to me like that's the password to that email. So he goes over to Gmail, plugs in Mr. Adam Yoder 1990, password. He spells it out though. He goes, Adam is gay. Ding, ding, ding. It was the password.
It says, A is gay. That could also be shorthand. Adam is gay. Immediately, I'm looking at it and saying, that's the password.
What do you think, Kate?
Wow. She made up that email.
Yeah. And even Katie's defense is he lived with a bunch of guys. Like, it could be a joke with them. And now I'll admit, like, dumb college dudes could be throwing that around like it's an insult. I was guilty of it 20 years ago. Absolutely.
Sure. But didn't Adam say that wasn't his email address?
Yeah. And also, it would only make sense if one of the other friends made it that as password. Like, the joke would not be for Adam to make it Adam is gay.
And also, he would change it immediately.
Yeah. And so that's a hilarious, super, like, mean and lame thing that she did. I was like, that kind of sinks you, Katie. Like, you thought that was minor, but that makes it pretty clear to me that she did it.
If I'm a scorned woman, am I going to play a little game with myself and choose Adam is gay as a password? You bet your ass I am.
Also, for that rape allegation, she submitted photos of injuries and said, look, this was after I was with him. Digital guy said, no, those were from years ago during a horse riding accident, girl.
They're time-stamped.
Yeah, they're time-stamped.
The problem is they were taken, in some cases, years prior to the date of the alleged sexual assault.
So it's like, it's looking like she's evil.
Oh, yeah.
Like she friggin' did it. And now here's the last bit. Apparently, Bill, back in the day, grew weed, okay? And not only did he grow weed, he grew what they kept calling super marijuana that was super potent. I, myself, have never heard of super marijuana, like as an actual term.
No.
But to grow super marijuana, you use colchicine.
Really?
That's what they were saying in the doc.
That's where we found this reference to colchicine being used to grow super marijuana.
And when Bill was asked if he knew what colchicine was, he said, no, I've never heard of it. And so then the doc is like, well, Bill, but you were making weed with it 20 years ago, so what's up?
So when Bill Yoder says he had never heard of colchicine, he had no clue that it was used to grow marijuana. The family members, they don't buy that.
What do you think? What do you think? I mean, it doesn't sink them. It's interesting. But all this other stuff against Katie, I'm like,
I'm still hung up on how she was able to purchase it in the first place and why that distributor would sell it to this chiropractor office. They're not real doctors.
Yeah.
I'm like, WTF, like.
And then the last thing I got for you is in those same notes, she had divided her weight to determine how much of the dosage would kill her.
She takes Mary Yoder's body weight and then fills out the formula for how much colchicine would be necessary to kill Mary Yoder.
Well, that's all I got. Another beefy ep for you, Holtheads. I would encourage you to check out our Patreon for 2 more episodes a month on non-Dateline things such as FFs and other cool things. And on that note, I'm Kurt Money.
I'm Kaitlyn.
I'm Lester Holt. For all of us, I'm Lester Holt. Good night.
Ergo me right, you wrong.